Hello, I'm Diogo Lima Meyer. I'm the director of Monte Velho Eco Resort, and today I will show you the heart of our project, our breeding, the Cordelaria do Monte Velho. What we are seeing now is our group of mares that we have been selecting and choosing all over the past 30 years, always with a very clear focus and a very clear goal on breeding functional genetics. The Lusitano is a closed stud book since 1967. The Lusitano main strength, in my opinion, is the character. And here what you can see is a group of mares and foals that are recently born, that we are trying to breed for the highest level of sport, for Grand Prix, but never losing the focus on the character. That's very, very important for us here. Monte Velho is a stud farm that was founded in 1993, so this year we're celebrating 30 years of activity. Since the beginning, the focus has been always to breed Lusitanos for sport. So during the last 30 years in Monte Velho, that was the main activity and the main passion of my family, especially my father, that was the founder. I've always been a little bit his fellow and his follower in every steps that were given in the stud farm. And basically now we have a project that is, I would say, a little bit different from the beginning. The project has been evolving all over the last 30 years. 10 years ago, we have built an hotel welcoming riders a little bit from all over the world. And nowadays, Monte Velho is a place where guests can stay to ride and to focus on their level of riding and to improve their riding. We still have the breeding project that is very popular, and also the competition, which is a little bit the trigger of all the activity, and that gives all this awareness to our project. So it is competition, breeding, and also the eco resort where we welcome dressage riders from worldwide. So what we are basically trying is to every year to add some different genetics that have already proven in Grand Prix. Ecuador was our biggest achievement so far, having competed in the final in Tokyo Olympic Games. So he plays a big part in our breeding project, and every year we try to add some different stallions that we think can add some value to our project and can bring some different features. We used to say that breeding is a little bit like cuisine. It's always a question of adding different ingredients to try to bring a different output. And here we have now a group of mares that we can play a little bit with each other in terms of genetics. And we are in a moment of the Lusitano breed where we have, I would say, 6-7 horses that proved successful in Grand Prix, over 70%. And what we are trying to achieve is combining these bloodlines to breed better horses all the time. My father, that was the founder, he didn't have any horse background before he was 37 years old. He's an architect, quite well-respected architect in Portugal that specialized in banking architecture. And when he was 37 years old, because of stress and all the work he was having and all the pressure of his work, he had a heart stroke. That heart stroke made him very concerned, and the doctors that followed his case, especially one doctor called Miguel Quine, he told my father that he should start a hobby, that his life only with work was not sustainable, and he should find a more balanced life. My father started asking, okay, but shall I start golfing? Should I sail? Shall I go swimming, tennis? What do you recommend? And the doctor said, no, Diogo, you should buy a horse. So that was the moment where horses became part of my family, because 1 week later, after that appointment from the doctor, my father decided to buy a horse. Curiously, it was a Lusitano called Ambassador. It was the horse then I later learned to ride. And basically, the passion became after a medical appointment. We always say Monte Velho exists after a medical prescription.
Sorry to interrupt, but if you're enjoying the content here on Horse World TV, then become a member and get instant access to hundreds of videos. We cover a variety of topics and disciplines, all horse related, so if you're interested, Join now and access all the playlists and all the videos straight away.
Yeah, my father has been, I think, absolutely genius in the way he, from out of nowhere, he built a very respected stud farm with a very clear focus. Nowadays he is what I call the chairman, so he's still completely involved in every decision we make in the project. I never, for instance, I never decide a stallion to use without his consultancy. Nowadays he always said, Diogo, you are in charge, you decide, but I still always like to ask his opinion because he has really a special eye and a lot of experience nowadays. And I think the fact that he's an architect and he is so talented for arts, I think he has a special talent to create and to breathe and to imagine what something will be. So in a certain way, the fact that he's an architect, I think, made him a very special and talented breeder as well. So these two foals here, they are two fillies, actually, two daughters of our new Grand Prix stallion Lirio. This one is born by embryo transfer. It's actually a technology we are using especially with our competition mares. So she's a daughter of Lufada and Lirio. Lirio already a Grand Prix horse, and Lufada we hope to start competing her in Grand Prix at the end of the year. That one there, she's called Tilia. She's now 2 weeks old and she's Ecuador and Lirio. So she basically has this combination of Grand Prix genetics I'm talking. She is a little bit my role model of a mare. Chiesta is the kind of a mare I really like. I would say it's like a modern sportive Lusitano kind of mare. First, you look at her and she looks like a mare, you know? You get the impression that she's very feminine. It's something we are always trying to pursue when selecting mares, is to choose this feminine touch in our mares. Second, she's very fine. If you look at the angles of the neck, the angle of the croup and the shoulder, she's a very fine, elegant mare. I particularly give a lot of importance, and that is, in my opinion, one of the biggest strengths of the Lusitano, is the carrying, the pushing power. And it's a feature we have been trying to select in the last 30 years, is to breed horses that have a strong back, a strong engine. The majority of our mares, they have large croups with a big scope. In terms of conformation, it's something I give a lot of importance, because if they have this natural, collected and large croup, they are more naturally engaged and have this capacity to collect more. I used to say that my job as a breeder is to make of the rider easier. So if I breed a horse that is naturally with a better conformation, with a good conformation, we can avoid a lot of problems from the rider. We can see sometimes riders spend years trying to improve a walk that is not good enough, or a horse that is very stiff. So I believe if we breed a horse that naturally has a good conformation, we save so much time to the rider. So the Lusitanos, in my opinion, they distinguish themselves from the other horses and the other breeds because they were selected throughout centuries to be the fellow of the rider. So they were always selected to help the rider and to be rideable. So nowadays we are fortunate to have still the same DNA of the Lusitano, and the breed distinguished from the others for being really easy to ride and forgiving. So the Lusitano, of course, there are different bloodlines in the Lusitano, so they are not always equal. But in general, my opinion, the Lusitanos are horses that are easy to ride, that are forgiving, that are give the rider a very good feeling in the contact. They are not the most powerful horses in the world, but they have a special talent for collection. So all the collection exercises, they found it very easy. Also, because they were selected and bred to collect. So the Lusitano historically was a horse that needed to perform in the battlefield. So they find all the collection exercises very easy because that's their nature. On the other hand, all the extensions, they find it a little bit more difficult, and that's something we've been trying in the last years to improve. And with some special bloodlines that we are fortunate to have in the Lusitano, we prove with Ecuador, for instance, that we could keep the soul and the real DNA of the Lusitano, but combined with a little bit more sportive approach. So nowadays, the Lusitanos, I think they are quite complete horses for sport. And we see a huge demand from riders from all over the world because they ride different horses at home and then they come here to the hotel and they ride Lusitanos and they get a feeling they've never had of easiness, of easygoing, of a horse that is always willing to help the rider in every movement. A lot of people ask us why we actually shave the mane and the tail, and it has a clear reason, which is to prevent the tick infection of our mares. In this region of Portugal, there are unfortunately ticks, and by shaving the mane, we assure they are more clean and less likely to be attacked by ticks and flies. So that's the main reason why we do it. Of course, that requires a lot of management on our side. We do it every 2 months. Apart from the shaving, we deworm them and we apply them an anti-fly tick product on their back to assure that they are always in good conditions in the fields and comfortable and not attacked by flies and ticks. In terms of colors, in our breeding program, color is not a criteria in terms of selection. Being a closed stud book, the Lusitano, it has 80% is between grey and bay, and the remaining 20% there are the exotic colors, the buckskin, the chestnut, the cremello. I'm not focused on color. I'm mainly focused on bringing genetics that I believe will apport value to our breeding program in terms of our goal, which is the Grand Prix. So in our breeding project, we try our philosophy to be as natural as possible. That's why we keep the mares always in the fields. During all the year, we are lucky not to have negative temperatures in Portugal, so that allows us to leave them all the time outside. And also the births, they are completely natural. We have the forecast from our veterinary team, so we know the due date of the births. On those weeks that they are likely to give birth, we do some night shifts within our team and we check them at night. And so far, in 30 years of breeding, we maybe had one day, one problem with the foal that we still managed to keep him with us. So the mares really feel this as part of their cycle. In terms of the cycle of a foal like this, they spend around 7 months with their moms in the fields. And at this moment, they have a park full of ryegrass. We still also give grain twice a day. And that 7 months, we do the weaning. So they are separated from their mothers and they go to the stables for a period of 1 month where we teach them the basic education to give the front legs and the hind legs, to put the halter, to go to the arena. We shower them. So basically they become what I call sociable and manageable. And after that period, which is crucial for us, they are weaned always in pairs. So she's a filly, when she's weaned, she will be with another filly, that she doesn't feel alone when we separate her from the mother. And then they go back to the fields after this weaning and they stay in the fields until they are 3.5. The Lusitano, in my opinion, is a late developer. So it's not recommended to start riding them before they are 3.5 because the skeleton and the bone structure is not completely fulfilled. So we find a lot of advantages on doing the breaking process when we start training them at 3.5, when they are completely settled and formed, preventing injuries and assuring they have a longer life and a longer career. When we discovered João, because that was kind of a discovery, he started in Montevideo when he was 17 years old. Now he's 30, so he's 13 years with us. João, from the very beginning, I think he was a little bit the trigger point of our competition program. We could see a special talent in this young guy and the commitment and the discipline. And I don't know, from the very beginning I understood that that was a diamond, and we had to give him the resources to shine and to grow. And luckily, he discovered Ecuador in his first internship. Ecuador was 3 years old when he first came to us. And the connection was so special that from day one I could see, and in my mind it was very clear that that would be the combination for the future. And then it was very simple. It was just a question of believing in them, giving them the resources in terms of training. I was a rookie too as an owner, so I had to improve myself as well and to learn and to step aside my comfort zone. I had to fight a lot and to prove also to my family that this was the way. So in a kind of way it was like a statement that we had to go together until the end, you know. And now it's the question of, I think I have the pressure to keep breeding good horses for him, and João does his magic, and now I'm very happy to see the younger horses with him doing really well, and let's see the future. But it's a question of keep going and being disciplined and consistent, and I think the rest comes out of your work. That's my opinion. So here we have the group of our 1-year-old fillies, all coming from Ecuador. So we have 10 fillies and 9 daughters of Ecuador, and Safira is a granddaughter of Ecuador. So Ecuador plays a really important part in our breeding program. We see clearly him as the foundation and the pillar of our bloodlines. And here we have Ecuador combined with Ruby, combined with Escorial, so with different stallions. This is the future of our breeding program. These fillies, they will stay in the fields until they are 3.5. We, like our mares and our foals, we manage them in a monthly basis. They go to the stables where we put fly and tick products, where we trim the shoes, where we shave the mane to prevent them from the ticks. So there's a lot of management behind our breeding program, but for us it's really crucial. It's not just abandoning them in the fields and waiting for the future. There's a lot of care, a lot of details we have with them by trimming the shoes every month, by applying anti-fly product and tick on their back every month as well. We shave the mane for the ticks too, and we do 2 checks a day by our team just to assure if they are in perfect conditions and without any problem. So here we have the group of 2- and 3-year-olds. We have 3 2-year-olds, Rifa, Rueda and Riqueza, and 2 3-year-olds. This one is called Kideia, and the buckskin is called Kejira, means how pretty in English. We like to have them together, the 2- and the 3-year-olds, actually because I think the younger learn the behavior or the more adult ones, and it really works to have them together. This park, it's like 30 hectares. We like it to have them in big parks where they can really play, they can canter. We have the advantage of this part of the property is quite hilly, but at the same time they have a lot of places to hide. A lot of places also in the winter where they can play with water. Normally here in the winter we have like a natural lake, now it's evaporated. But I think it gives a very natural environment for them to grow in a very healthy environment. In terms of the breeding themselves, I call this group of our fillies a little bit like our horse lab. And why it is a horse lab? Because I've done some experiences in choosing different stallions in the last years. We have a common base of mares, mainly coming from Ecuador. And in the last year, we've tried to add different stallions to try to bring new features. One of the things I'm really, I would say, obsessed with is the quality of the canter, that I believe it's something we need to improve in the Lusitano. So this group of fillies, I would highlight mainly their canter, because that was the focus when I decided to bring a new stallion. This one comes out of Fugoso that did really well and went into the final in Tokyo Olympics. This one is out of Dragão, a horse that is in Luxembourg, and that did really also well in Grand Prix. That was also in Tokyo. Then we have the Buckskin. She won the Filly of the Year award last year in the Lusitano Festival. So here I would say I've done some experiences. We can only assess the true quality and the true results when we start riding them, because that's the moment where we really see if it worked or not. You can have an impression how they move in the field and a little bit about their character and their conformation, but the decisive moment, in my opinion, is when we ride them and when we can see their reaction to the leg, how is the contact, how is the natural balance and the quality of the three paces. I really believe the stallions in the horse market generally, they are too much overrated. Whereas, in my opinion, the mares, they are the most important part of any horse breeding program. And something we do here, all of our mares are ridden and tested. Even if it's for a shorter period of time, those 3 months when our team rides the mare, we have so much information that is so vital for the future. How is the walk? How is their reaction to the leg? Are they willing? Are they going forward? And even if it's for a shorter period of time, I strongly recommend all the breeders to ride their mares, because they get a lot of information and they are much more effective deciding a stallion for each mare. I'm quite critical about our mares, and the fact that we ride them, it gives us the impression on what kind of stallion we should choose to try to compensate what's not so good about them. And some of these, it's funny because this group of fillies, they all come from different stallions, because I found the need to use a different stallion for each mare because we've ridden them. If we haven't ridden them, I think I would be much less effective on choosing a stallion. As you say, it's still difficult to imagine Ecuador not being in Montevideo. I still go to his stable, and for me it's difficult not to see him there, because Ecuador was, it's difficult to explain, but he was Montevideo, you know, he was the heart of our project. And he was, when we talk about ambassadors and influencers, like Ecuador he did so much for our team, for me particularly, for João, for our trainers, for Portugal, for the Lusitano. I think he was a horse that will stay, at least in Montevideo. He will always be part of our story, and he was the most special horse I've ever seen. I think there is the trend to try to compare horses. I think there will never be another Ecuador. There will be other horses, and we need to keep going. But another horse like that will never happen again. You know, the year that he died was of course a very dramatic year for us. First because for almost 10 years we fought together to try to get him into the Olympics, and we had COVID in the year that he was supposed to go to the Olympics. He was in top shape, and I still believe he would be probably a top 5 horse in the final. Then with COVID, in the year of the Olympics 2021, after the delay, he gets an injury in the beginning of the year. So it was a whole drama to get him fit to compete in the Olympics. We managed, of course, in very difficult circumstances, because João was not able to train him properly and to have all the preparation that was supposed to be. We still managed, and João did an amazing job helping Portugal to reach the final as a team. And then some months later, after the Olympics, we get this tragedy that I go to the stable. I see him not well. We immediately called the vet, and we could see that he had an injury in his neck. We were completely shocked, João crying, myself crying a lot, and it was just impossible to imagine that our partner, our friend, was suffering. And immediately we decided to give him the best treatment possible worldwide, and we discovered a surgeon in France that was the only guy that could actually make a surgery on him, Dr. Rossignol in Paris, and he went to Paris right away. The surgery went really well, so we were really optimistic, and the vet as well. always skeptical because the post-surgery is risky. The third day after the surgery, he was already trotting, and we could see, okay, we have Ecuador back. And suddenly, on the fifth day, there was something wrong, some bone that touched the vertebra, and actually we lost Ecuador in 2 days, and it was dramatic. And nowadays, I think the fact that we are quite a connected team and a connected family, we could pass this tragic event together, and we realized together, me, João, my father, Coralie, that the best way to praise Ecuador was to keep going and to believe in his progeny, like Maestro. That would be the best tribute you could play to Ecuador, was to keep going. And I remember João, João could not ride for 1 month. He was really, he told me that he was thinking of giving up because that horse was part of him. He created João as a rider, as the rider he is now. But I think the fact that we really stayed together and we could overcome this as a team, that helped a lot. And nowadays it's still difficult to imagine, but we look at this a little bit like, okay, we need to make you proud. So that's always the way we look at it nowadays. We were very lucky to make a celebration and to spare his, I forget his ashes in the field, in the place where he was born. We made like a celebration for all the team, including the farrier, including the vet, including everyone that helped Ecuador to reach that stage. We made a ceremony, and we spread his ashes in the fields, exactly in the place where he was born. We had some photos, and we remember where he was born. And nowadays, it's a place I still go sometimes when I feel bad, and I look at that place and I remember about everything he has done for us.
So that's this week's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, then become a member where you can watch hundreds of videos like this, all horse-related content, different disciplines, topics, and they're all right there for you to access straight away. So become a member and get full access to the content right now.